Hi, welcome back to Repodcasting. I'm Lucia,
And I'm Janet.
and today we're back to talk to you about a movie that I would say neither one of us is super fond of.
So I picked this movie, and that's because I loved the book so much, and I just have so many feelings, none of them good. So I picked Girl on the Train, and, like, as you know, Lucia, I've read this book. I think I've read it 3 times
Oh,
now.
wow.
So I was stoked when I found out that they were adapting it, but also scared because so many of my favorite movies have been adapted, and I feel like this is kind of like everyone feels this, right?
Sure.
It's a favorite book, they adapt it, Hollywood ruins it. So I was really like I was stoked, but I was worried, and then now I see why I was worried. I had definite reason to be worried.
Yeah, I agree.
Because this is going to go along the same road of shallow hell for me. I just want to start this off because I was doing same thing. I was doing like a little bit of research before I was doing notes and stuff, and surprisingly, this movie made $173 million US.
Yeah.
That seems like a good haul.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that kind of surprised me. None of that money is mine. I did not go see this at the theater.
Some of that money is mine.
For reasons that I will get into shortly, but I didn't go see it at the theater. Like, I went to the good old library and I rented it.
Now, the 173 million is worldwide. So
No, that was U.S. So I don't know what it made worldwide. I didn't actually get into that. But I will start with this because I feel like this was not a critic favorite.
Oh.
And you were actually the one that tipped me off on that because I guess you had read different reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to read this review that I just pulled quickly yesterday.
Okay.
It's David Edelstein from Vulture. I really like him. I think he writes for New York Magazine as well, but his film reviews are always spot on. Like I always totally agree. So this is what David Edelstein wrote. I got depressed early when I realized I'd be spending 2 hours in the hands of people who didn't know how to tell a story. And I was like, yes.
Oh boy.
Exactly. Like, that may seem strong, but I was like, exactly, David Edelstein. That's exactly how I felt. You just took the words right out. Like, the main thing, and I've read this different, like, things that people have written online, the main thing was they changed the location.
Yeah.
Right? That was my biggest beef.
Mm-hmm. And for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah. Like, I really feel it had everything to do with the director.
Oh.
Like, the person who directed it, Tate Taylor. He also directed The Help.
Oh, okay.
Did you see that?
I did.
Another book to film adaptation. And again, like, I loved The Help. I didn't particularly like the movie.
Right.
I didn't hate the movie, but that's for another day. That's for another podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, so I feel like maybe he played a hand in like changing the location.
Okay.
Like they Americanized
For sure.
this, and the book is so British.
Yeah.
I mean, forget that it's by a British author. It takes place in London. Just the whole atmosphere, like with all the rain, like for me while I was reading the book, the rain is such a defining factor. It sets such a mood, such an eerie sort of mood. So when they changed this from like London to New York, they lost me. As soon as I heard that they were doing that, I was like, that's it. They wrecked the movie right off the bat.
Right.
Because it's like they're messing with a fundamental like part of the movie or part of the book that like really makes up such an integral atmosphere in the book. So
for me, they lost me when I heard Emily Blunt was cast as the lead, and I like Emily Blunt a lot.
Yeah.
But she just doesn't fit what the description of the character
Just wait your
is.
turn. It's my turn.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going first. Okay, so I'll start with my picks because there's a lot to get through. So we'll start with Rachel, and I agree with you. Like Emily Blunt, and I mean, she was nominated for an Oscar, and she is a great actress.
For sure.
She really is. But I just didn't really feel that she was Rachel. Like, you know, we've talked about this before. Every time you're reading a book, like, I'm always mentally casting it. I don't know, it's just a thing I do. Like, I'll be reading it and I'm thinking, oh, like, who would be like a good actor to play this role? And I didn't picture her.
Yeah, me neither.
At all. Like, I never would have pictured her. And not to say that she wasn't good, I just don't think she was the right choice. So, had I been casting this movie, but, you know, at the same time, I get why, I get why they cast her, because they obviously wanted, you know, when you're casting a movie, like, you need to cast people who are gonna, like, get you a budget, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I get it. I mean, at this point, she's got a name in Hollywood. Because I would have chosen Andrea Riseborough. Do you know who she is?
I don't.
That's just it. Like, she's not, you know, Andrea Riseborough would not have gotten funding for the movie.
I see.
But I think she would have been great. She was actually just in Battle of the Sexes.
Oh, okay.
With Emma Stone, and she plays Billie Jean King's, like, love interest.
Okay.
In the movie.
I'm looking at a photo of her, and she's still not familiar to me.
She's not, you know what, that's the thing. She's not very well known, and I feel like that is such a shame. Like, she's so underrated, and she's a great actress, and I think that she really could have, like, killed this role, because she's so good. She just hasn't had that one breakout role yet.
Okay.
Where people can know who she is, but she's done a lot of work. Like, she was in the one movie that sort of where I started to know who she she played Wallace Simpson in that WE movie that was directed by Madonna.
Okay, I never saw that.
Yeah, she did a movie with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I did see that one, actually. And she played a large role in that. She was good.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. I feel like people, you know, she doesn't have that name recognition, but she should, because she's a really good actress. And I think she really could have killed this role. Like, I think she just would have brought, like, a whole different sort of vibe to it. And I think that this could have been her breakout role. Like, I think if she had been cast in this role, I think she would have smashed it so hard that people would be like, oh, Andrea Riseborough. Like, they would have known who she was.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's kind of a shame. But yeah, like, definitely if you get a chance, like, check out some of her movies, because she's an excellent actress. Okay, so moving on to Tom.
Okay.
Tom, like, the awful Tom. Okay.
Oh, yeah, hang on. By the way, like, even if we don't specifically get into it, there probably will be spoilers. So if you haven't seen Girl on the Train and you plan to, pause.
Yeah. Okay, Justin Theroux.
Yeah, what a horrible choice.
No! Oh my God. Like, you know, Emily Blunt, when I heard that he was Tom, I was just like, they're killing me with this casting.
Absolutely.
I am not, you know what? I think Justin Theroux should stick to what he does best. I think he should just be he's a screenwriter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's written, like, a lot of, he's got a lot of screenwriting credits. He did Zoolander 2.
Oh, really? That was terrible.
Remember Tropic Thunder?
Oh, that was really good, yeah.
Tropic Thunder. He's written a bunch of other things. I don't know. But I think that's really where his talents lie. I don't think of him as much as an actor. Okay. I really don't.
Yeah.
Have you watched The Leftovers?
No.
I haven't seen that either. Everyone says he's great in it. I don't know. To me, he's not Tom. Like, when I thought of Tom, I never would have thought of Justin Theroux, and I didn't even think he was that good. Like, he's not, you know, to me, the character Tom was like a narcissistic sociopath.
For sure.
And, like, Justin Theroux just didn't, for me, was not believable. His performance was not believable. I would have chosen Colin Farrell.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? I'm not choosing him because I like him. I am not a fan of Colin Farrell at all. Like, I don't, I do think he's a good actor. I think he would have been perfect for this role.
Yeah.
I think he's got, like, the grittiness. I think he's got the ability, because Tom in the book is sort of like, he comes across as like this really nice, solid guy, like, especially the way Anna describes him. Like, she spends most of the movie, like, the reason that she's so sad is because she misses him so much, because he's just such this wonderful man, and she's pining for him, and Tom is just this, this great guy. So, and then you realize at the end, like, he's such a scumbag, right?
Yeah.
And I really think that Colin Farrell could have played the role with much more layers. I think he's just, like, he's got the ability to go there as an actor.
Yeah.
And he sort of has that scumminess about him, in a sense.
He does, yeah.
But also, he's really handsome, and, anytime you ask, like, he does nothing for me, but a lot of women love Colin Farrell. Like, he does it for them. And that's why I think he shares that with the character Tom as well, because a lot of women are attracted to him, right?
For sure.
He's got that ability to be, like, really charming, but then underneath all of that, he's, like, rotten. And I feel that Colin Farrell totally could have, like, pulled it off. I think he would have done a better job.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick for sure.
For Anna, his new wife, so it was Rebecca Ferguson, and, again, she's a really good actress. I like her.
Yeah, she was fine.
Yeah, she was just in that movie that bombed over the weekend.
Oh, no.
The Snowman.
Oh, okay.
The reviews for that are, like, horrible. But anyway, she is. I really like her. I think she's a great actress. The first time I saw her was in one of the last Mission Impossible movie.
Oh, yes. And
I thought she was really good. But, like, again, like, I wouldn't have picked her for this role. I don't know. It just felt like the casting was so off.
I agree.
With all of these characters. Like, every time I would see, like, a new actor being added, I'd be like, has anybody even read this book? Have they read this book? Like, has the team who's working on this even read this book? Because this is all wrong. So my pick for Anna would have been Sienna Miller.
That's mine!
No!
We matched up! Yay!
Oh my God! That's amazing!
That's very cool. Yeah. I agree, obviously.
I would have picked Sienna Miller. And, that was the other thing. Like, physically, I felt that, and I know that now I'm being really, like, really nitpicky, but physically I felt that most of the actors that they selected for these roles, the physicality was not there either.
Right. Well, because their physical description is given to you in the book.
Yeah, and so anyway, I would have picked Sienna Miller. I thought she would have been... I think Sienna Miller, again, is another actress who is very much underrated. Yeah. She's been around for a long time. She's done, like, a lot of film work, and she's a really good actress. I think she has the ability she has so much range, and I just think that she hasn't been given, like, maybe the opportunities that she should have. But I think she would have, like, killed this role. I think she totally would have been so good. And the physicality, too. Like, I think... And it's funny because I debated casting her in a different role. Okay. But I thought she would have been perfect for the role of Anna. And I think she would have played opposite Colin Farrell. Like, I would have loved to have seen their on-screen chemistry and just the dynamic between them.
Yeah.
I think that would have been really interesting, too. Same thing with Andrea Riseborough. Like, I think opposite Colin Farrell, Like, I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen how they would have played off one another.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. I felt like these characters, like, none of them meshed well.
I
like,
agree. Oh
it
my
just
gosh.
wasn't there for me. And I think Sienna Miller opposite Colin Farrell, like, oh, that would have been so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have selected her.
Okay.
For the role of Megan, I don't know how I can't remember how they pronounced it in the movie, because the movie I saw like a while ago.
Okay.
I would have, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't write this down. It was Haley Bennett.
Yes.
I think that was her name, Haley Bennett. She's not a very well-known actress.
No.
Like, she was in Music and Lyrics.
Oh, really?
Did you ever see that?
I did.
So she played like the pop star.
Oh, okay.
And she hasn't done a lot of film work. So again, like they picked somebody who was relatively unknown. So I kind of went with the same sort of vibe, and I picked. And I mean, she was fine, but I felt like they could have picked someone a bit stronger. For
I
the
agree.
role, because I mean, she's a major character in the book, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I would have picked Sarah Gadon.
That name sounds familiar.
She has done a lot. She's a Canadian actress.
Okay.
She was in a film with Jake Gyllenhaal, the one that they shot here in Toronto, Enemy.
Oh, yeah.
She plays his wife in that movie. Right now, she's starring in Alias Grace, the miniseries that they're doing for CBC. She's also worked with, she did a movie with, oh my gosh, my brain just went blank. He's the Canadian director. He's done a lot. No. He's done a lot of horror movies. Oh my God. David Cronenberg.
Oh.
Yeah, she did a movie with David Cronenberg. It was the one that Robert Pattinson was in. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Okay.
Anyway, she's excellent. Again, she's another one. She's so underrated. But it's funny because when I was reading the book, I actually saw her in the role of Megan. Like, I remember while I was reading, I was like, Sarah Gadon would be perfect. Because Sarah Gadon has like that, like when you're reading the book, you know, Megan is described as, you know, like the physicality, like she's very petite and whatever, but, you know, she's also got like this cool aura of sophistication about her.
Nice.
And I think Sarah Gadon like would have like totally, she just kind of personifies that.
Okay.
But I think she also would have done a better job with this role than the actress that they cast. I think in terms of range as an actress or actor, I think she would have been really good in the role. I would have loved to have seen how she would have played it. And again, same thing, like I would have loved to see how she would have acted opposite like Colin Farrell.
Mm-hmm.
I think the dynamic would have been really good. So for her husband, Scott, like, you know what? I like Luke Evans.
Okay.
I really do. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he's a good actor. I even told you, I think he should be the next James Bond.
Right.
Like, I like him. But I didn't like him for this role. Like, I thought he was all wrong for this role.
Yeah.
Is
he British?
To me, Luke Evans, yeah. He is. He's from Wales, I think.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, but he is British. You know, I don't know, you're probably going to laugh, but I would have picked Chris Pine for that
What?
I would have picked Chris Pine.
Really?
Yes. Because I think Chris, you know, it's that joke that he made when he hosted SNL. Like, he's the least known of the Chris's. But Chris Pine, I think, has not been given the right role yet to really, like, shine as an actor.
Okay.
I really believe that. I think he can act. I really do. But I just think that, you know, because he's so attractive, he's not, I don't know, he keeps getting cast in stuff that maybe is not, like, highlighting his acting abilities.
Isn't he in the Star Trek franchise?
He is.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you why I thought of Chris Pine. He did a movie with Elizabeth Banks. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's called People Like Us.
I think I did.
And I thought that movie is probably, I can't remember what year that movie was made. I'm going to say, I really should have Googled this, but I'm going to say that it's not that old. I'm actually going to Google it right now while I'm talking to you.
Okay.
It's not that old. I think it was from 2011, maybe.
Okay.
When I saw that movie, I was like, oh, Chris Pine can act.
This is the one where, and
no, it's
spoilers for people like us, but this is the one where he's Elizabeth Banks' brother, but he doesn't tell her?
Yes.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I did see that.
Yeah, it's from 2012, and it only got 53% on
really?
Rotten Tomatoes, but then it says 88% liked this film. It actually is really good. When I saw that movie, it was small. Like, that movie did nothing at the box office, and it was, I mean, if you did see it, I'm surprised because I feel like nobody saw that movie. But that was, when I saw that, I was like, Chris Pine can act. He's an actor. So I think he would have really brought, like, an interesting dynamic to this role. Because, I mean, the character of Scott is, like, he's pretty abusive. He doesn't seem like it at first.
Yeah.
But as you read more into the book, he's an abusive guy.
For sure.
And that was one thing that I almost felt like the movie downplayed in a sense. I don't know. Did you see the movie? You saw this, right?
Yeah. I saw it in theaters, and then I saw it again a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, you did? Oh, you saw it in theaters.
I did. I'll get into it later, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, like oh my God, I completely just lost my train of thought. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I felt that the movie, I felt that they kind of softened his character a bit.
Oh, yeah.
In the movie.
I agree.
I think in the book he's portrayed much more as, you start to see the darkness in him, especially once he meets Rachel. And, we learn more. So I really feel like Chris Pine, has the ability to, get to those layers. You know what I mean? And I think he could have played like that sort of, if they'd made him a harder sort of character, I think Chris Pine could definitely go there. I think he could have done it. And in terms of, they're described, or at least from Rachel's perspective in the book, they're described as like this, she's made up this whole backstory because she sees them, when she's on the train, and she's got this whole sort of romanticized idea of them, mainly because of how they look.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
they look
absolutely.
like the perfect couple. They're both so beautiful. And not to say that the actors that they chose were ugly. I mean, Luke Evans is attractive, so was the other girl, Haley Bennett, but in my mind, those two Chris Pine is so attractive, or at least I think he is. And, a lot of people do, they see him and, he's just so attractive. And I think that's part of the problem. He's been typecast.
Right.
In a sense. But yeah, I think it would have been interesting to have made the character dark, stuck with the source material, keep him dark, and I think Chris Pine, could have, really killed it. Yeah, so that's who I chose.
Okay.
And then the other character that I recast was the doctor.
Yep.
Megan's therapist. So they picked, I had to actually Google all of this because I had no idea who that actor was.
Yeah, me neither.
So his name is Edgar Ramirez, and he's done, he's a film actor primarily, I think.
Okay.
He was in Zero Dark 30, Born Ultimatum. He hasn't had, any big roles. I was like, who is this guy? This guy is all wrong. This guy is wrong. I don't know. I didn't understand why he was cast.
Okay.
Physically, I thought he was all wrong for the role.
Oh, okay.
And, the way he's described in the book, he's described as, a slim man, sort of very exotic looking, and not for anything, but then they cast this guy. Like, there's nothing exotic about this guy. What,
Okay.
just because his name is Edgar Ramirez or whatever?
Yeah.
That's, like, I don't know. Like, I just didn't think that he was that great. Anyway,
Okay.
if I was casting him, I would have cast, again, like, I feel like I'm casting all these unknown sort of people. I would have cast Alexander Siddig, who, like, people are like, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
If you watch Game of Thrones, which
see.
Most of the world does, you would know who he is. So
Okay.
he was on Game of Thrones. He played Doran Martell.
And what's his last name?
Siddig, Siddig. Physically,
Okay.
I think he fits the description.
Okay.
But beyond physicality, because he's kind of described as being a little bit older in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would have just fit the character perfectly. Like,
Cool.
I think if you had ever seen any of this actor's work, you would have been like, yeah, totally. I just could totally see him as that character. Like, in the book, Dr. Abdick is he's very, like, subdued. He seems like he's very calming.
Yeah.
He's very low key. But then while you're reading it at the same time, you're kind of like, this guy might have some edge. Like, at one point I definitely thought that maybe he is the one who kills Megan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel like Alexander Siddig could definitely go there. Like, I thought for sure he would have been good. I only cast two more characters. The character of Kathy, Rachel's roommate.
Yeah.
So Laura Prepon, again, I don't know. Is she friends with is she friends with the casting director? Like, I don't know. Because I didn't get it. Like,
I thought that was a really strange choice, too.
That felt so random to me, and I was just like, I totally don't get it. I'll tell you, when I was reading the book, you know who I envisioned as Kathy?
Who?
I envisioned Emily Mortimer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
As Kathy. But, like, I don't know if she would be too big of a name. Like,
She's not that big of a name. She's done, like, she's known, but she hasn't starred in anything,
I really saw
really.
her as Kathy, because in the book, Kathy sort of seems like this, like, she's caring, like, she's, she keeps trying to give Rachel all these chances. She keeps trying to, like, be her friend. And I don't know, I just kind of thought of Emily Mortimer. Like, she sort of has, I like her, and in all the roles that she plays, she's always sort of like this great supportive role. And I really saw her as Kathy. I don't know, but, maybe a lot of people would be like, oh, she's too old for the role, or whatever. I don't know. But
she's young looking, though, so it doesn't matter.
I think she would have been good.
I think so, too. That's a good pick.
And the other role that I cast, the lady cop.
Yes,
because
Detective Riley.
They really kind of highlighted her. It was Allison Janney or Janney, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
She's fine.
Yeah, I really like Allison Janney.
I like her too, but again, like, I don't know. The casting seemed so off on this. I would have picked Toni Collette.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I thought she would have brought, like, a whole different dimension to the role.
Yeah.
Toni Collette, to me, can do no wrong. I think she does, I think she's great in everything that she does. I think she's so versatile. She has so much range as an actor. She's amazing, and I think she would have just brought, like, a different sort of energy to the role.
Okay.
And I think she just would have brought, like, a different sort of vibe to it. I don't know. I can't describe it. The only other thing that I can say about this is Lisa Kudrow.
Yes.
I don't even know why. That was an added character.
Yes.
And because that character is not in the book.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know why they decided to do that. I don't understand why I don't know.
I think the only reason that they brought her in was to move the plot along, because Lisa Kudrow basically reveals to Rachel that Tom was lying to her for years.
Again, like, I don't know.
I think she was just a plot device. She had to move the plot along.
Yeah, she's a plot device.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to ask you, because it's been a while since I read the book, and I only read it once, how does Rachel remember or come to the conclusion that Tom had been lying to her while they were together?
Well, it's just her memories.
Oh,
like, she
I see.
finally starts to remember things.
Okay.
So I understand what you're saying totally. Like, I can see, because, when you're in a book, there's sometimes certain things that you have to change.
Yeah.
I get it, because it's all in it's all in the character's mind or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how is that going to translate to screen, right?
For sure.
So I get that. But, like, why Lisa Kudrow? Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I didn't recast that role because
No, me neither.
I feel like they probably could have done it in a different way.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have even been something that I would have added into the movie.
Okay.
But what I thought was funny was that her name is Monica in the movie.
Oh, nice.
Like, why didn't you just call her Phoebe?
Yeah, it's true, because it's a made-up
Rachel.
character. They could have put any name.
Or, you know what? They should have called her Ursula. Remember
Oh my
Phoebe's
God.
twin?
That's
Why
amazing.
didn't you just call her Ursula?
They totally
should
have.
Like, just the whole thing, I was not, like, I was not a fan of the whole, to me, it started off on the wrong foot with casting it, like, having it in New York.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the main thing for me was that the casting, like, none of the characters seemed to, like, mesh.
Yeah.
It just seemed to be, like, random choices, and I don't know. I was really disappointed because I loved the book, and I felt like they could have made a completely different movie.
Yeah.
Had they just, set it in London and obviously had different actors.
Yeah, for sure.
So those are my choices.
Awesome.
What are yours?
I'm now looking at mine and thinking I didn't necessarily think of how these people interacted with each other. I just thought of the character. I did what I think the casting directors of the movie did. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so and I also had a real problem narrowing down. So a lot of mine are this person or that person. So anyway, for the character of Rachel, one of the things that is mentioned over and over again in the book is that she is overweight. She has gained a lot of weight. I think when she started drinking, basically, is what the book says. And by casting Emily Blunt, I felt like Hollywood was doing that thing where they're like, no, we can't put an overweight person as a lead character. Nobody would go to see the movie. And so I tried to pick someone who is not as svelte. Oh, and get this, I have to throw this in now. One of the IMDb trivia comments is that in the book, Rachel is chubby, and Emily Blunt was in the early stages of pregnancy. So that is chubby Emily Blunt, according to IMDb.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Like, physicality, I think, like I mentioned that. I think they were all off on the physicality of these characters.
Yeah. And I also put a limit, I guess, on myself because I wanted to put the book in London as well. And so I tried to only get British actors.
Oh, okay.
So, in fact, now I think I'm going to say somebody who might be Australian, not British. But anyway, for Rachel, I thought of Rebel Wilson. And I know that she's very much a comedic actress.
Sorry?
Rebel Wilson?
I'm sorry. I should have. Oh my God.
Go ahead. Finish laughing.
No. This is good. I'm glad.
I don't think it's that funny of a pick.
Oh no. Okay, sorry. No, go on.
Go on after that? go on after that. I really wanted to pick, like, I wanted to give this starring role to a larger actress.
You wanted to give it to one of the Bellas?
Oh, I was like, what's a Bella? Yes.
Okay.
Maybe they could have turned it into a musical with Rebel Wilson as the lead.
Sorry, no, I'm not. And you know what? For anybody who's listening, that's you, Pedro. I do not want anyone to think that I am making fun of Rebel Wilson because I'm not. Like, I love Rebel Wilson. I mean, I could care less what Rebel Wilson looks like. I'm not laughing because, you know,
No.
she's considered overweight or whatever. That's not why I laughed. But go on, sorry.
Yeah, I was really, like, for me, I was more hung up on the physicality because I don't know if Rebel Wilson could do this role, to be honest. Looking at what she's done. But
okay, here's the thing. I'm going to interrupt you. So here's the thing about... I can't stop laughing.
Come on.
I can't stop laughing. Okay, here's the thing with Rebel Wilson. Okay, I see what you're saying by wanting to cast, like, an actress that is more like how she's described in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I got the sense that Rachel, the way she's described in the book, is, like, you know, maybe, like, slightly overweight, like, you know, maybe 10 or 15 pounds, right? Like, Rebel Wilson, I think, I don't know. Like,
in the book, there are some moments where they imply that it's not just 10 or 15 pounds.
Okay, well, that's where we disagree. But go on. I'm sorry. I won't interrupt you again. Go on.
No, it's fine.
Go on.
Okay. So I'm just going to go on to the next one then. Tom?
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm going to say.
So, okay, I have a question. So, you only did you only pick Rebel Wilson because she's, like, a larger, like, actress? Is that the only reason you chose her?
That's part of it. That's not the only reason. I think, again, granted, we've only seen her do pretty light fare, silly comedies, etc. But she's quite good, and I don't know. I feel like she could handle it.
Okay.
It's a pretty large role, but I think she'd do a decent job. She might not knock it out of the park, but I think she would do well.
Okay. Yes.
But yeah, so I'm just gonna move on then. And Tom, I recast. Okay, so for Tom, I thought because he's kind of described as such a great guy initially, and you know, he appears to treat Rachel really well, and she's the bad guy kind of thing. And it's not until the end that you actually see what a sociopath he is. I wanted to pick somebody who is kind of, I guess, unassuming maybe would be the right word, or who doesn't necessarily appear like they're bad at first, but who could handle that. And I thought of Cillian Murphy, actually.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It's funny that you say that because I actually almost selected him.
Really? Nice.
Yes. Like, he was like a close...
Cool.
Like, I debated whether I should cast him or Colin Farrell, but ultimately I went with Colin Farrell. But Cillian Murphy, 100%. But now, how would Cillian Murphy, like, act opposite Rebel Wilson? Oh my god, I can't stop. I'm sorry. That's so good. You know, I'm really glad that we didn't discuss this. I could never have faked this reaction.
Oh boy.
Oh man, yeah, like, that's the thing and I get what you're saying, like, you know, that's one thing that I'm always really conscious of when I'm picking my casting choices is, like, how will these people act opposite one another? So how do you think Rebel Wilson would be opposite Cillian Murphy? I can't see that pairing in my brain.
Well, they're not together in the movie anymore.
Right.
And I think it would be
we have
fine.
to believe. Yeah. Okay.
Also,
right.
Let's remember that I did preface my picks by saying I did not think of how they would work together.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah, like admittedly, I didn't really consider that. I just thought of the character, tried to remember what I could from the book, and cast it that way.
Okay.
So, next the next one was Anna, and so we've already discussed that. I picked Sienna Miller as well.
Oh yeah. I really, I think she would have been so good.
Yeah,
in
me
this
too.
Role. But you know what? I considered her casting her for Megan as well.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe people would be like, "Oh, she's a bit too old for Megan," but she looks really young. But yeah, I think she would have agreed totally. I think she would have made an awesome Anna.
Yeah. So I'll just go on to Megan then. And I did pick somebody younger for Megan. I thought of Emily Browning. I don't know if you know who that is.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I think she's
your pick.
I have two picks for Megan.
Oh, okay.
So she's one of them. I think she is just adorable, first of all. But she could also be a bit dark. And I think that that's necessary for Megan.
Yeah,
and then the other person I thought of was Gemma Arterton, who I think definitely could have handled that role too.
Gemma Arterton,
yeah.
In terms of physicality, I don't see Gemma Arterton. I would see Emily Browning more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I like Emily Browning. I think she would have been. Yeah, I think she would have been good. Yeah.
And I also have two picks for Scott, and now I'm worried that you're going to laugh again because they're very strange. They're not similar to each other. First of all,
okay.
But so for Scott, what I really thought of is because his character is very dark, as you were saying, and you're supposed to think at some point that he is the killer, and so.
Right.
And also, I was feeling a little bit like I didn't have enough diversity in my picks.
Oh, okay.
And I thought Idris Elba would be a really good Scott.
As Scott?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he's supposed to be good looking and I think muscular, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's in the book.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely you get the sense that he works out. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know. I could really picture him in that role. I think he would be really good. Mm-hmm. But then my second pick is Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh my god. Lucia, you're killing me. I think you just want a movie with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Obviously.
Because you love him.
Of course I do.
I do not see him as Scott at all. Continue.
Now,
why
Benedict Cumberbatch can be very dark.
Yes.
I
totally agree.
Yeah. Now, obviously, he would be more let's say, unassuming. He wouldn't. You wouldn't automatically think of him as a killer necessarily until you get more into it.
He's also not the most obvious choice.
Certainly not.
For a hunky sort of.
I think he's hunky.
Yes, I know you do. Yes, and there's people who agree with you. Absolutely.
For sure.
There's what do they call them? The Cumber bitches or whatever? I don't know.
I do not call myself that, but yes, that is what they're called.
You shouldn't, but that's apparently what some of them call themselves, his fans. Yeah, I'll be honest, I do not see him at all in that role, and I don't see Rachel as
I know you don't.
Rebel Wilson, but okay, yes.
Oh boy, all right. So moving right along.
Who else did you cast?
I cast all the same ones as you.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for Dr. Abdick, this was one I actually pictured when I was reading. I don't know if you remember, and I'm not going to know how to say his last name, Goran Visnyuk?
Oh!
From ER. I don't know. Even reading the book, that was who I pictured. And I don't often do that. So, yeah, he was definitely my pick for the Doctor. And age-wise, I think he's pretty appropriate, and he is, I guess, exotic looking in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yay, thanks.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Does that make up for Rebel Wilson?
No, it doesn't, but I definitely could see him in that role for sure. Like, I definitely could see him playing that role.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. All right. Good. Nothing more to say then.
No, what about the lady cop?
Oh, yeah, no, and Kathy as well.
Oh, Kathy.
I agree with you. I don't know. Laura Prepon? What? Like, it just feels like it came out of nowhere. It was super random. And I really like Emily Mortimer. I think that's a good pick. Mine was actually Emily Blunt. I think she would have been good as the roommate.
Okay.
Because, you know,
interesting.
yeah, normally, like, she seems like a very sweet person in real life. She's often played many very, like, sweet characters. And I don't know, I could picture her as that roommate who's, like, trying to be helpful.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I think Emily Blunt, though, is considered too much of a leading lady.
Right. Yeah. She's
like
too big for that role,
like that.
For sure. But even I feel like Laura Prepon kind of is. Like, she's not in a lot of movies, granted, but, I mean, she's done all right for herself, and most people know who she is. She felt like too big of a person for that role, too. Too big of a star.
Really?
I think so.
See, I disagree. I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think she's lucky that they threw her that bone, to be perfectly honest. Yeah,
Okay.
I know that sounds so mean. But, like, honestly, like, I think she was lucky to even get that role in this movie because, I mean, I know she's on Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
And, yeah, like, people know who she is, absolutely. But I don't think that she necessarily has the name power that maybe you are giving her.
Okay.
But, yeah. No, but yeah, Emily Blunt, you wanted to give her a role in the movie.
I felt bad. I felt bad taking away the starring role from her.
Yeah. And then who did you cast as the lady cop?
The Detective Riley character, I thought Kate Winslet would do a good job of it.
Oh, Kate Winslet, yeah. Again, like, I think she's so, like, I don't know. I don't know if I could see her taking a supporting role. Do you know what I mean?
Right. She also has maybe too big of a star
still offered
power.
Those roles, you know, and that's what becomes interesting about certain actors is, you know, they start to become so famous that it's only lead roles that they take, and maybe sometimes that's to their detriment.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. For me, kind of like you were saying with Toni Collette, to me, Kate Winslet can do no wrong. I think she's wonderful in everything she does. Even if she's in a turd movie, she's the best part of it, like The Holiday.
Yes.
She was the only good part of that movie. And,
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Well, even my pick for Toni Collette, I mean, Toni Collette probably has too much name power for, like, a role like that, right?
But that role... now I'm trying to remember the movie, because it was a pretty big role in the book, was it not?
Well, it was...
It wasn't one of the top 3 or anything, but it was still, like...
You know, it was somewhat significant, yeah.
Exactly, it wasn't a cameo or anything. And I guess in the movie, the role was slightly smaller. And so, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe somebody like Kate Winslet or even Toni Collette would be too big for a role like that. But again, Allison Janney is not, and maybe it's just because they're TV people, not movie people as much, but Allison Janney is a pretty big name as well.
She is. I mean, she's definitely well known for sure.
Yeah.
She was in Spy. Remember Spy?
Oh, that's right.
She played like the chief or whatever.
Yeah,
she played like a cop in that too. But yeah, it was. That was when I was picking Toni Collette. I was like, Toni Collette's probably like too big for the role, but that's who I would like to see in the role.
Right.
Like, ultimately, it's who you would like to see in the role.
And that's what I was about to say. What we're doing here, we're not literally casting any movies. No,
and so... listen, thank you for making me laugh. Because Rebel Wilson, like, that will go down in the archives
Come on.
Of our podcast. That's amazing.
You know what? When Rebel Wilson gets her first dramatic role and kills it, I'm going to come back to you and say, see?
Please do. Like, when she does get her first dramatic role, definitely let's talk. Because, Oh, man, that was good. And Benedict Cumberbatch as Scott, that's a good one, too.
He was my second choice.
No, stick with
Idris
Idris
Elba,
Elba.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If you're going to pick anyone, I think, like, he would be it.
I could certainly picture Idris Elba in the role more than Benedict Cumberbatch. I think I just really wanted to put him in this movie.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That's good. Thank you, Lucia.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is the fun part of it, is like, we surprise each other with with these little bits. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if it's okay with you, I'd like to throw out some of the trivia that I noticed about the movie.
Go for it.
So initially, Chris Evans was attached to play Tom.
Really?
Yeah, and then there were some scheduling conflicts with a movie called Gifted. I don't know what that is, and that forced him to drop out.
Oh, yeah, that's the movie he just did with Jenny Slate was in it.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting because if I was going to cast Chris Evans, I would cast him as Scott.
Me
not
too.
Tom.
I totally agree.
Yeah, like I could see him as Scott.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah,
for
me
sure.
too.
I actually considered casting him, but then I was like, no.
Give the other
too,
Chris.
Yeah. I don't know that Chris Evans can hit those dark notes.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't seen a lot of what he can do.
Yeah, I haven't seen Chris Evans be able to go there yet.
Okay.
I think Chris Pine could. I don't think Chris Evans. No. I don't think Chris Evans would have been good in this movie, but if I was going to cast him in any role, it would have been as Scott, not Tom.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then Paula Hawkins apparently had Michelle Williams in mind as Rachel, which is kind of weird because Michelle Williams is not British, and her book is British.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, when I was picking my casting choices, like, I didn't necessarily think, I have to have an all-British cast, because, like, I don't. I mean, I picked, like, Sarah Gadon is Canadian, and Chris Pine is American, and, I think I mostly have, like, a British whatever cast. But, yeah, like, I don't know, like, Michelle Williams, I don't see her as,
me neither.
Like, yeah, Michelle Williams she can definitely do, the dramatic roles, for sure.
Yeah.
But, like, not at all. I would not see her
Michelle
at all
Williams
as Rachel.
could handle that role, but I don't see it.
No.
Yeah. And then just about the book, by 2016, the novel was the fastest-selling adult novel in history.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I feel that, critics didn't really seem to connect with this book. Like, I haven't really read any good sort of critiques of the movie, right?
Oh, of the movie, sorry.
Yeah, of the movie. I really enjoyed this book, and I think it's a shame, like, what they did with the movie. I really do.
Yeah. And especially if you're talking about, like, the fastest selling novel, then you should really take a little more care with the movie, because that means a lot of people have read the book.
Yeah. And like I said, I think part of the problem was that they should have had, like, a British director even. They should have had a different Tate Taylor. Like, I don't have, like, a personal vendetta against Tate Taylor. But I don't think that he was the right person for this project.
Right. At
all. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't know how they picked him either.
Yeah. I just feel like everything was really off on it.
And do you want to hear who was originally attached to play Scott?
Who?
Jared Leto.
No.
Apparently.
Ew.
Why ew?
No. Jared Leto. All I will say is Jared Leto, no. Hard pass.
Okay.
No. I absolutely do not see him as Scott. Like, physically, no.
No, not at all, physically.
Jared Leto needs to stop thinking that he's 25 and trying to convince the world that he's 25, because those days are long gone.
Scott is not 25.
No, but, like, Jared Leto's too old.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
No. And
Oh, you're
physically,
hilarious.
no. And no. Jared
Much
Leto,
like Michelle Williams, I feel like Jared Leto could pull it off, but I don't see him.
I feel like Jared
as
Leto is too dark.
Maybe.
For, like, I think he would bring too much. Maybe that's because, like, I saw him just yesterday in Blade Runner.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I just think Jared Leto is too method of an actor. Like, I can't even see him wanting to do a project like this. Like, I would see him completely turning his nose up at a character that is so basic.
I wonder when this was that he was attached. Like, it was probably maybe even pre-Suicide Squad.
Who knows? Like, honestly, I feel like Jared Leto would have looked at this script and been like, I'm not a basic bitch.
Well, apparently he was attached. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Paula Hawkins, the author, filmed a cameo for the movie that was eventually cut.
Aw, that's too bad.
Yeah.
See, like, Taylor didn't let her be in her own book adaptation.
I know. That seems harsh.
Yeah.
Why couldn't she have been Monica?
Right? Exactly. Oh, man. I don't know. Any other comments that you want to add, Lucia?
Well, I was commenting on yours as we went through. I really liked Emily Mortimer. I thought that was a really good pick. I really think, oh my god, I just forgot his name. Colin Farrell is also a really good pick for Tom. Obviously, I agree with your Anna.
Yeah. Cillian Murphy, like, agreed with you 100%. Cillian Murphy could have played Tom.
For sure.
Absolutely. You know, because Cillian Murphy has that ability to, like, be really charming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's the kind of actor that, you know, if you were sitting watching the movie, you'd be like, yeah, I can totally see why he got all these women.
Yeah.
But then also, I can see, like, he plays that darkness so well, but he can play charming really well.
Yes.
Did you ever see Red Eye, that movie that he did with Rachel McAdams?
No.
You should watch that.
Okay.
Like, definitely watch that. That is such a good movie. And, like, essentially, that's kind of the character that he sort of plays. Like, someone who is very charming.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who, like, has that charisma that is, like, really magnetic.
Yeah.
And then you just watch it all turn dark. And you're like, what? Yeah, so definitely I think Cillian Murphy he's got the acting chops, like, to pull off a role like
for sure. Yeah.
For sure.
I knew you would like that pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now it is time for a special new segment.
Oh.
I'm going to see if I can get this audio lined up. I hope so. Okay. Here we go. Okay, did you hear that? Did you hear that at all?
I heard that. Yes.
Okay, this segment is called Hold Me Close, Young Tony Danza.
Young Tony Danza?
Yeah, that's what the line is.
Okay.
So, what we do in this segment is we put Tony Danza into the movie because he should be working.
Yes, Tony Danza. I like that. That is great. Tony Danza should be working more. Well, yes. I told you he has something coming out on Netflix.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to whatever that may be.
I'm stoked for Tony Danza on Netflix. Absolutely. Okay, well, what role would you put Tony Danza in?
Okay, so let's say ignoring his age. Because he might not fit a role because of the current age that he's at or whatever. But I would really like to see him in the role of Scott.
I thought you were going to say you'd put him in the role of Rachel.
You know, he could do it.
He can do anything.
Yeah.
Scott. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could see Tony Danza as Scott.
He's pretty buff.
He's buff.
Yeah. And I feel like Scott has to be buff.
Yes.
And so I like that. Granted, it's hard to imagine a dark side of Tony Danza. And both Tom and Scott require that dark side. And so does Dr. Abdick even, because you're supposed to suspect all of them of murder at some point.
Right.
So if that's the case, like if we really can't picture him like having a dark side, then he could be the detective and we'd have to make it a man detective.
Well, you know what? If I was casting Tony Danza, I actually would cast him as Dr. Abdick. And maybe that's because of his age.
Okay.
Because Dr. Abdick is described as he's described as older, I'm pretty sure, in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Or being
I think
slightly
so.
older.
Yeah.
But I could also see, there's something really sort of like comforting about Tony Danza that I could see him being able to play that character.
Yeah.
And in terms of darkness, like, I don't know, I think, definitely Dr. Abdick, like, there is that darkness about him, or you sense that there could be, right?
Yeah.
I think Tony Danza would be able to go there for that particular role. Like, I'm not so sure about Tom or Scott. I don't know that Tony Danza could reach those depths of acting darkness.
Yeah.
But I think he could do it for Dr. Abdick for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know who we forgot? The man on the train.
Oh, that poor guy has hardly any lines or anything.
Yeah, but in the book, he's kind of significant because she definitely keeps thinking about him.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, he could be the man on the train.
Yes, he totally could.
He totally could. Like,
yeah.
Absolutely. I could totally see him as that role because the man on the train is like, he's always like really nice to Rachel, and like she remembers him as like helping her and like, being all friendly, and that could be Tony Danza.
I like it. Yeah, that's good.
Nice.
He should have been the man on the train. What the heck?
Yeah, we'll just, okay, that's it. We've changed. We're going to make him the man on the train.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I like that.
Okay, excellent. So we'll kind of wrap up now. And would you recommend this movie?
No, not at all. And if I was to rate it, if I was to give it a rating, I would give it like a 3 or a 4.
Ooh, yikes.
Oh, yeah. No, I would not recommend this movie to anyone.
Okay.
Like, even, how you, in casual conversation, you're like, oh, you should watch. No, I would not, like, this is a movie that if it happens to be on the W Network on a Saturday afternoon, then yeah, sure, like, why not, if you have nothing else to do.
Okay.
But no, absolutely not.
Okay.
Like, I have nothing good to say about this movie.
I also would not recommend it, but I think I was a little bit more generous in my rating. I would give it a 5 out of 10 because I think it has a lot of problems, and like I said, I wouldn't recommend it, but I think it had some moments. And Emily Blunt, I think, even though she was miscast, I think she did a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, she's a good actress, and she definitely did what she could with the material that she was given, right?
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks, the fact that she was nominated, for all these awards, speaks to the fact that, she took this role and she really made it into something. Like, she made it her own, and she definitely gave it life, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Girl on the Train was an excellent pick for this podcast, Janet. Thank you for that.
Oh, nice. Yay, I'm glad.
And if anyone is listening and you have some recommendations for maybe some miscast roles or miscast movies that you would like to send to us, you can send it to Repodcasting is the Twitter handle. It's also the Instagram handle and Snapchat. Or you can email us at repodcasting@gmail.com.
So that's only for our one listener, Pedro, who's also our cousin.
So yeah, Pedro, please send us some recommendations. Okay, well, thanks for joining me on the phone today, Janet.
No problem, and we'll definitely have to pick our next movie for episode 3 of Repodcasting.
Yes, thank you very much. Talk to you
Thanks.
soon.
Goodbye.
So I took Pedro's advice and I got liquored up before our recording.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning in Calgary.
I'm just
I don't
kidding,
know
of
what
course.
you put a shot in your matcha.